y'all, we're back at it. We're up in Hoot and Holler today. We're getting a really late start. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't usually get started that late, but ran into my very good friends, my neighbors down at the front part, and got to visit with them for a while, and that's too much special time to give it up. So we visited with them for a while, and that was wonderful. But now I got to get to work. So today we've got really good conditions to do a little bit of burning. It rained just a little bit last night, so the ground is wet. There is very little air blowing, not much at all. So it's really good conditions. We got still air and a slightly wet ground. So we're going to try to do a little bit of burning today. And let's see, we'll go over here and I'll show you. So we're going to go and light this small fire that's over here. And you can see the tree that we cut down. This was a dead walnut tree right here that we cut about a week ago, I think. So we're going to light that fire today. And then also, we're going to light this one off over here. So that pile right there, we're going to light that off too. That one has got a lot of green grass around it. Green grass doesn't burn, so you don't have to worry about the fire getting away up there. This has got some dry leaves on this one, so we'll have to rake the leaves back a little bit and work on that before we light it off. But that's what we're going to plan on doing today. We're going to do a little bit of burning. Again, we've got very little wind. It's just an excellent day to do some burning. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we lit the fire off, and obviously that's going just fine. You'll notice that the fire has gotten away from the brush pile a little bit. I am intentionally letting it do that. I'll let the fire burn out while I watch it. I'm monitoring this with a rake, and I'll let that burn out away from the brush pile so that it burns up all the fuel. So there's no fuel anywhere around that brush pile. And I'll let that burn out pretty much as 20 or 30 feet, if it'll go that far. I'll let that burn out. And that way I know there's no fuel there for it to burn. Now, we got a little rain last night, so the ground is a little bit wet. The dry leaves are burning and the dry grass is burning a little bit. But that's about all. I don't think it's going to go very far. It already went out over here where it started. So I'm going to monitor this. I hope it burns out at least a couple of meters, because then when sparks pop out of the fire later on, they're just landing on burned ground where there's no fuel. It makes it really safe that way. That's how I try to do it. Also, you'll notice this is kind of a small pile, and I'm going to feed the chunks of wood into it over time so that it'll never be a huge pile. Now, the next pile that I'm going to do is pretty big. I can't help that. It's a bunch of stumps that are piled up. They've been sitting there for a couple of years, plus two trees that are chopped up and thrown in there too. So it's kind of a big pile. It's going to be a different deal. But it's in a safer situation. It's farther away from the woods and it's a little more safe. But you'll see that in a minute. Oh, and so always we have to get a burn permit. So of course we did that. Super easy. I can do it on my phone. It took me about 1 minute, honestly, to get a burn permit to do this. So that's another important thing too. Always get a burn permit if it's required in your area, which it is here at Stonewood. And so we're going to watch this for a little bit. And then and then we're going to light the second fire. And then we're going to stay up here the rest of the day and just watch it. So we lit the two fires, both of them, the smaller one and the larger one. They've been going a little over 2 hours now, and they've settled in real nice. They're burning real good. It's a very low flame, very safe, and that's just perfect. So while they're doing that, I'm going to come over here and pick up some of these branches that have fallen off of this dead tree. So this tree, with all the bark missing, this is a great big dead tree. And underneath are all these branches. These branches are falling out of this dead tree, including this one. That's a pretty heavy branch. That's almost like a small tree that fell from way up on the top. And that's why I'm not going to take a chainsaw to that dead tree, because these things will fall out and hit you in the head. And you can't tell, but there's a lot of dead branches here. So anyway, one day that dead tree will fall over, and when it's on the ground, then I'll take care of it. But for right now, I'm going to take these branches and I'm going to put them on my fire, because that's something that I can do right now while I'm up here monitoring these two things. So you probably can see the small fire right now. This turned out to be a really good day for burning. And as you can probably tell from the smoke, there's no wind at all. And that's the big thing when you're burning stuff, is you don't want to have any wind. Wind is definitely your enemy when you're trying to have a fire. So we don't have any wind today. The ground is a little bit wet, not very much, but a little bit. And so it's a really good time to do this. And we've managed to get a lot of it done. So you can probably tell I've already put some branches on this thing. And over here is all that's left of the walnut tree that we cut down. From the walnut tree that I cut a week or two ago, there's 6 pieces left that need to go into that fire. It hasn't burned down enough right now for me to put these 6 pieces on there, but it will before I leave today. It'll have enough. We got about an hour of daylight left, and the sky is mostly clear. So there's a high cirrus, but mostly clear sky, so that's good. We'll get all of the daylight. We got about an hour to go. So this is I'll show you in a minute the difference between a little fire and a big fire that's over there. There is a lot of difference between the two. This one is really struggling. There just isn't enough volume to really generate a lot of heat and burn the wood up quickly. And so that's not all bad. That's, it's a little bit safer when the heat's not that much. But it may not burn all I won't be surprised if there's quite a bit of this wood that does not burn up. And that's not all bad, because whatever doesn't burn up, it will be, like charcoal. It'll be like charcoal. It'll be completely dry, and it'll be about half burned. So, that'll work. There's the big fire over there. We're going to go over there and take a look at that in just a minute. And I'm going to finish that up. And then we're going to go take a look at this big fire. And I'll show you what the difference is between a small fire and a big fire. Okay, so you guys have seen the small fire, So now we're going to go over here and tend to the large fire, and you'll see what the difference is between the two. There's quite a bit of difference between the large fire and small fire. That one over there is a minimum sized fire. You barely can sustain it. Whereas this thing over here, as you can see, that's spread out a lot more, and that's a much, much bigger fire. That's a lot bigger fire because it's just a lot more, it's not just spread out, it's a lot more volume. This right here is the greatest tool you can have when you're doing a brush fire like this. Brush fire. Is a hard rake, what I call a hard rake. This thing is invaluable. And I'll show you how come. Because when you need to push this stuff back into the fire, this is the way to do it. Now I'm going to have to walk over here because Neo is trying to hover over this fire so it can film me, and that's probably not good for Neo right now. My cell phone I've got right here in this pocket. While I was working up here earlier, it got so hot I didn't realize it. I was very hot, but the cell phone got so hot it went to emergency mode and shut itself down. and quite a while later, I realized it was shut down and how warm it still was. It took about 20 minutes for it to cool off enough to start it up. It got cooked pretty good. So I got to be careful with that phone being right there, and I sure don't want Neo getting cooked by the fire either. So anyway, this is very handy to have so I can maneuver these logs up in here. I need to keep this fire up underneath this log so that it'll burn the log. See, there we go. See right here? I need that. I need those flames on that log so it'll burn that log up. This is a box elder tree right here. And there's the root ball. I ripped this out of the ground with the mini excavator a couple of years ago and walked it from way over there. I walked it over here and set it up. So it's been sitting there for a long time. It should be very dry. It may be a little bit rotted. It may be a little dry rotted. Anyway, again, I'm going to walk Neo over here to make sure she stays away from the fire and the heat. So normally I wouldn't have to walk around that much. Anyway, so again, this tool is really handy for to get all the wood. You want to keep rolling the wood in on top of the heat, so you maintain that heat. And this has burned down a lot. This has been burning for probably 2 hours, and it's burned down tremendously from what it was. And so these parts right here really aren't burning very much. They're still smoldering, but they're not burning real good. That needs to be picked up and thrown in there and kind of consolidated all together. But of course, it's way too hot. I can't get in there and grab that thing. Here, Neo, come over here. You're in the smoke. I'm in the smoke. So, see if I can get Neo to walk around to the right spot. So this rake is really great. I can reach in here, even when that's pretty hot. I mean, it can be too hot for this, but I can kind of duck in, grab something with that rake and pull it out here where it's away from all of that heat. This heat I can handle. With a good set of gloves, which I always have, I can handle something. I can literally handle that for a few seconds, just a few seconds, just enough to lift it up and toss it in there. And that's all I need. That's all I need. Just give me a few seconds and I can do that. Now, if I can pick these pieces up and roll them in there, I may have to let this cool down a little while. But if I can pick that up and throw that all up in there, it'll burn that whole log up tonight. It'll all be gone tomorrow. And this already is a very, very safe fire. You can see right here where it burned off some grass, and I let it go. I didn't stop it at all. And that's all the grass that it burned up. This is not going to burn. It's a little wet underneath, and it's not going to burn. So this is a very safe fire right now, just the way it is. And like these right here, this isn't doing anything. It's smoldering, but that's not doing anything. And I can't get in there with my arms and pick that up, but it needs to be put in there farther. You can see that thing sparking. It's very hot. This is like a burning piece of charcoal. But I can move it just for a few seconds. Just that long. And that's all I need. Now it's in there where I need it to be. So I couldn't do it without this. Very important. Very important to have that. And it'll push too. It's not great at pushing, but it'll do it. And so that really helps. And I know y'all probably can't see what I'm doing right now. So I'll come around over here again. Hopefully y'all can get a better view of what's going on. But I just do this. I'll circle this fire with my rake, and I'll keep poking these things. And I keep poking them up in there, if I can. There we go. Like that. And that'll keep the flame on that big log. So let's move over here so that I keep Neo away from the heat. Neo keeps trying to get in the heat, and I don't want it to get damaged. This Neo, this is my first Neo drone. It's been through a lot. I have not been particularly kind to it. But it's proven itself. It's a very durable drone, very durable. It's very cheap. If it wasn't so cheap, I wouldn't have risked it so many times. I've flown it in the rain. I've flown it in the snow and the sleet. I've flown it when it was so dark that it crashed. And it's held up. So I really love the little Neo. I like it so much I bought a second Neo. It's kind of like a backup to this one. I use it for FPV flying, but really it's a backup for this one. But I do love the little Neo. Now this one is cooled off some. Just so you know, it's cooled off some. I had this pulled out earlier, this one too. I think I'm freaking out Neo right now. All right. Well, we got to get some work done here. Been goofing off long enough. All right, stepping on my rake. So, come over here and we'll get another angle on it. Yeah, let's try that. You can kind of see what I'm doing, maybe. So we're just trying to keep the fire going, keep the fire built. So I got to keep that good heavy wood up in here. And so I use the rake, pull this out. It's way too hot. I can't get up in there like that. It's way too hot. But I can pull this out and put the hot side on the top, and that'll cool off enough where I can pick that up in just a minute. So you're in the smoke again. Anyway, you get to see all around where we're working here. It's the old trailer house. And this is what I call Hootin' Hollow, because there's a lot of owls up here at nighttime. I used to camp out in that trailer house when I first bought it. And there's a lot of owls up here at night. And that's why I call it Hootin' Hollow. So I've got big plans for all of this is going to get cleared out. This can be cleared out a lot. It's just gotten overgrown. Since before I had it, all of this was way overgrown. And I've spent many, many years, 25 years now, working on this particular piece of land, trying to get it nice. So anyway, it's a work in progress and things are coming along. So the process I've got going on here is to pretty much get all of the wood around this big log. As much as I can, stack wood up under this log. And as you can see right now, I hope you can see, there's a lot of flame around both sides of that log. That's que bueno. That's what we want. We want that log to be totally engulfed in flames for as long as we possibly can, so that we can burn it up. We want that to completely burn up. There's another log over there, and hopefully that'll burn up too. It certainly is mostly burned up. And then we've got some chunks of stump. Those are stumps that I piled up here, and a lot of that is burned up really well. So I'm going to do my best to continue to roll this in onto these two logs and really try to build up the fire around that. And that's how I do it. And hey, look at that thing rolling over. So, yeah, just take this and pull it out, let it cool off just a little bit, and then grab it, throw it in there. You need to think where you want it first before you grab it. So I'll look and I'll go, well, there's a spot right there. It's kind of a hole. That's just the right size, and I know I can reach it easily. And so I know where it's going. I grab it and chunk it right in there really fast, so that I'm only holding that log for 1 or maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds at the most. And with these are not any kind of special welding gloves or anything. It's just a good quality pair of leather gloves. And they do fine with it. And I'll have to let them cool off a little bit before I do that again. I can't just repeat that over and over rapidly. You got to let it cool down a little bit. But it's totally achievable to do that. And this is how you get it burned up. This is a very nice fire. This is what I like. It takes a little while. The flames get a little too big for a while in the beginning, and it takes a while. But after 2 hours or so, you get this, where it's burned down to a real nice low flame. And if you can keep the wood kind of piled up in one place, that will burn so hot, it will run all night long, and this log will be completely gone in the morning. We're still going to have the stump. There's a lot of dirt there. There's dirt on that other one. That's obviously, the dirt's not going to burn off. The wood will not burn off inside of the dirt. Some of it will, but a lot of it will not. We'll still have a big wad of dirt there. So we'll have some stuff to clean up, but it's not going to be hard. Any of this
critically low battery warning.
We're about to run out. Any of this wood that's left over, it's going to be like charcoal, so it's real easy to move. That's not a problem. And so that's the plan. I'm going to stay with this until it's down to a real low
battery. Return to
glow.
home promptly.
So we're going to end it for tonight. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. So this is the smaller fire. I had to get in here and stir it around to get it going again. It was looking like it was almost gone out. And I thought about that, and I thought, I need to let y'all know, you got to get that rake and get in there and kind of stir things around every once in a while, about every hour or so, or it just won't really burn at its best. So if you stir it around, kind of just move things around a little bit, it really gets it going a lot better. And this is a good example. It wasn't doing this good when I walked over here, so it's doing a lot better now. We're going to hang around here, keep an eye on this thing until it burns way down. Everything's safe all the time. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you next time.